I don't know if you guys knew this, but we have a 49ers football game to be played today. Yes, our first pre-game live of the season begins right now as we look at the matchup between 49ers and Titans. And now, obviously, this is a preseason game. We aren't we're going to be about the players that we want to see perform, take a look at the Titans roster and take a look at what they got going and what they'll be putting out against the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll pretty much just be discussing all things 49ers versus Titans as we get ready to go. You guys already know what to do. Smash that like button, drop an SDS in the chat, and let's start talking about it. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. All right. We got a football game today. Kind of feels weird. I'm not going to lie because obviously all attentions have been elsewhere, but we don't talk at the current moment. We can talk about other things. All that good stuff going down. So let's talk about some of the players that we're looking forward to today. 49ers versus Titans. What the expectation is for this particular game. I want to know what you guys are looking for because, to be honest, I could care less about a win or a loss in the win column. Obviously, you always want to go out in the football game, of course. But this to me is more about 49ers going out here and looking to effectively see who is going to make this roster. So we know about the high end guys, right? We know about who we expect to make an impact. But the beauty of these preseason games is we probably aren't going to see your Debo Samuels, your George Kittles. We're not going to see your Fred Warners, your Nick Bosa's. This isn't the time to go out and put these players out on the field, especially in the first game. Now, everyone manages preseason a little bit differently. The up until this point have been seemingly pretty consistent with how they operate their roster. The first game is typically all backups. They start sprinkling in maybe some veterans here or there for a series or a quarter. And we game two, and then game three, it feels like that's where they treat it like a dress rehearsal. The starters might get a series or two, and they get pulled. And it's pretty much just an opportunity to be able to evaluate the players on the back end of the roster who are fighting for a final spot on the 53-man roster. So it's actually kind of wild that we have a football game today. Am I the only one? Am I the only one who feels that way? I woke up, I'm like, "Oh, we have a football game today." I just feel like we've been so preoccupied with so many other things that haven't been necessarily on-field related, so we typically go elsewhere. Any way you stream the game, you can go to streameast.com, and you can find, the game. So we've already got initial update about who's not going to be available to play. I think it was Matt Maiocco who put uh, a tweet. basically saying what he expects from the running back. So from the running back room perspective, this is what Matt Mayo said. He said Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, and Isaac Guerrero will not play tonight, which I don't think is a big surprise for anyone. However, that does mean this opens up the door for Cody Schrader and kind of questions what is going on with Jordan Mason in this particular game. Well, as it currently stands, if this is a game and they were going to go out and play, Jordan Mason would be your starter. So I think it's kind of the injuries that they have had at the running back spot. I don't think you should put out Jordan Mason. I think you should treat Jordan Mason like a starter in this particular game. Sit him down if you want a series, maybe. But other than that, I don't think you should put Jordan Mason into this game because you don't want Jordan Mason to get hurt or dinged up at all with you already dealing with multiple injuries with the other running backs. So that means guys like Cody Schrader, Matt Breida, recently signed Keyshawn Vaughn, Patrick Taylor potentially. We don't really know what his situation is like. I just keep saying my audio cutting in and out. Is that still a thing? Is my audio still cutting in and out? Let me. I'm gonna refresh. All right. Well, hopefully this is a little bit better. Oh, but you can let me know in the chats if it does sound any better. Oh, getting better. So, all that being said, I expect I did a video earlier today talking about who I think should be the top 5 players that you want to watch today. Cody Schrader is on that list. I think Cody Schrader, obviously, as we discussed, is going to get a ton of run, and I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by what we see from Cody Schrader. So I'm much looking forward to this. This is going to be obviously his first in the NFL, and he is going to have an opportunity to really push for a roster spot, especially if this is the way that I'm looking at it is Cody Schrader has an opportunity to force the 49ers to medically redshirt Isaac Guerrero because if Cody Schrader balls out and he proves that he's an NFL back, the 49ers then have to make a decision if they believe if they release Cody Schrader on cutdown day that he will make it back to the practice squad or if another team will try to pick him up. So that becomes the situation. You're obviously going to keep Christian McCaffrey. Elijah Mitchell is dinged up. So that is just unfortunate scenario for Elijah Mitchell. We know that his issue hasn't been his ability. His issue is staying healthy and staying available. And yet again, we have another situation where Elijah Mitchell isn't available for a portion of training camp. So that opens up the door for guys like Cody Schrader. We know Jordan Mason is a lock. He's not going anywhere. So who's going to step up? Can Matt Breida earn a spot? Can Keyshawn Vaughn earn a spot? Can Patrick Taylor earn a spot, or can Cody Schrader earn a spot? So the running back kind of situation is going to be one of the top things that I'll be looking for this preseason game against the Titans. I also know that a lot of our eyes is going to be on Dominic Pooney. Dominic Pooney is going to be getting his first run. I imagine he'll get a good amount. I would assume Pooney gets like a half. And Pooney right now is auditioning to be your starting right guard or starting lineman in some capacity. So that's why I think he is one of the guys that you want to lock onto. And I think it's going to be really fun because we're going to get a true look at some competition, guys who are willing to go to the ground. Dominic's going to be out there trying to pancake guys. And so I'm excited to see what he does. I'm excited to break down his film in more detail because we haven't been able to do that at practice. This will also be the first opportunity for us to get film on these guys, do a film breakdown, start breaking down individual plays, all that stuff. So that's one of the positives of the preseason. The preseason doesn't mean anything from a win-loss record, but it does mean something from a player development standpoint and roster construction standpoint. So those are kind of the key elements that we will be keeping our eyes on. And that's why Dominic Pooney is a guy that I really want to watch personally. And I imagine you guys will be looking for him as well because he could be a starter on this offensive line throughout this season. If not right away, could be at one point, definitely. So, but staying on the offensive line, another guy that I do want to see is Nick Sakel because Nick Sakel had a pretty forgettable preseason performance against the Raiders last year. He just really struggled in that particular game. However, and then he got hurt for the year. Nick Sakel has been rotating with the ones pretty consistently with the 49ers at training camp. I won't be surprised if Nick Sakel is your starting center for this game. There is a world that exists where we could see Jalen Moore at left tackle, Dominic Pooney at left guard, Nick Sakel at center, Ben Barch at right guard. Or no, let me flip that. Excuse me. Jalen Moore, left tackle, Ben Barch, left guard, Nick Sakel, center, Pooney, right guard. I don't know if they're going to play McKivitz. I wouldn't play McKivitz, to be honest. I don't think McKivitz needs run. I think McKivitz has shown well enough in training camp that you just kind of don't risk any injury. So you sit McKivitz down and then put in Chris Hubbard. So that's what I would imagine the 49ers starting offensive line will look like today. And with other guys not named Pooney, I'm watching Zakel and Barch. Those guys feel like they're competing for a roster spot on the interior and potentially a starting spot as well at center. They have both rotated at center with the ones, so that is something to keep an eye on. If Nick Zakel can come out and just like really put together a nice game, he is going to keep solidifying a roster spot for himself. So that will be one thing to keep an eye on. Another, a guy that we don't talk about at all. I talked about him a little while ago. Was Isaac Alarson, I believe is his name. I don't know how to say his name. But he's number 67. He's intriguing to me. He's an intriguing prospect. So he's buried on the depth chart. He's way deep in the tackle rotation, but he's just a guy I want to see. Like, do we keep him on the practice squad? What does he look like in his first game with the 49ers? So that's a guy that I'm going to keep my eyes out for. A guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing too is going to be Braden Willis. I think Braden Willis has a huge opportunity in front of him to be able to seize the tight end 2 spot. So if Braden Willis comes out, I think he's already done it. I've been paying attention to Braden Willis all training camp, and he has so much upside. And I don't even think he's realized like he's not even fully matured into his upside yet. But Braden Willis is a guy that I think could be your starting tight end. Once Kittle retires or moves on or whatever, which is a day that I am dreading, if I'm being perfectly honest. A day that we don't have George Kittle on this team. But from what I've seen from Braden Willis, he looks like a phenomenal kind of tight end one in training. It's not. I don't think he's ready for that yet, but maybe year 3, year 4, you could see Braden Willis really take a jump. So for this particular game, I don't think George Kittle's going to play. I do think Braden Willis will get the start today, and it will be a combination of Braden Willis and Eric Saubert. I believe those are the top 2 guys right now behind George Kittle. So I want to see if any one of these 2 guys are able to solidify that and lock down the top 3 tight end spots, because I do believe the 49ers will only keep 3 tight ends. I don't think they're going to keep 4. I don't think Cameron Latu has shown enough, but he's also a guy you want to keep an eye out, because if Cameron Latu comes out and has a phenomenal preseason game, he has the opportunity to save himself. I don't think he's done that. I don't think he's been able to do that in training camp so far. So for Cam Latu, the preseason is monstrous in regards to convincing this organization that he belongs on the 53, because I think he could be headed for a potential another medical red shirt, or they're just going to flat out release him. So big preseason for Cameron Latu, especially looking out for Mason Pline. I think Mason Pline is a guy who could be a tight end a couple years down the road with more development, more seasoning. So I'm excited to see what he looks like as well. Keeping on the offensive side, though, I think a lot of people want to see what's going on with the wide receiver spot, because I don't know if Ricky Pearsall is or is not going to play tonight. So we know he's dealing with a shoulder, and it's going to be fascinating to see if the 49ers want him to go out, if he's healthy enough to go out. So very fascinated to see what the outcome will be with Ricky Pearsall if he plays. Same thing with Jacob Cowing. Both guys have been dinged up throughout the training camp practices. So wanting to see with those 2 guys what their involvement will be in the offense and how they perform in their first preseason action as well, because I doubt we'll see Debo. I doubt we'll see Jawan. The guy that I think is probably going to show out the most is going to be Ronnie Bell. I think Ronnie Bell has the opportunity to have a huge preseason game. I thought he's been really good in training camp. I think he's solidified his roster spot. So Ronnie Bell will be a guy that I'll be watching for. A guy that I'm also watching for is Trent Taylor. Trent Taylor is scrapping and clawing for a additional roster spot. So I've always felt it's been a truly uphill battle for Trent Taylor to make this roster. Obviously, you draft 2 rookie wide receivers. You assume Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings are returning as your top 3 guys. Ronnie Bell has earned a spot, and Chris Conley has looked really good as well. So Trent Taylor is kind of on that fringe, outside looking in kind of a spot. So what can Trent Taylor prove today? Does he prove to be a reliable pass catcher? Can he be a guy who really locks down the starting punt returner job, which we've had so much trouble trying to fill over the years? So Trent Taylor will be a guy that I'm actually looking for to see if he can somehow steal a roster spot. And Danny Gray, this is a make or break preseason for Danny Gray. Danny Gray caught some hype early on in the unpadded practices, but when pads came on, Danny Gray has effectively disappeared, which is one of the things that I always talk about is you can look good without pads. What do you look like when pads come on? And we haven't seen much of anything from Danny Gray. So, a former third round draft pick just a couple years ago, this is a huge preseason for him because he, like Cam Latu, might find himself on the outside looking in. So, Danny Gray has got a lot to prove on this field here coming up. And, shout out to my guy, Tay Martin. I feel bad for Tay. He's been on the practice squad for the last couple years. I think he's a quality wide receiver. He was hurt almost all of training camp. He came back, I think, the final day of training camp, the last 2 days. He made a phenomenal catch, diving catch in the last open practice of camp. But I'm interested to see what he looks like. He's probably headed for the practice squad as well. But all eyes are on trying to determine, do we see the 49ers first round draft pick today? I don't know. I'm on the fence. With how they manage that. I would imagine if there's any signs of injury that they don't want that to happen. That they don't want to see that occur. Another injury potentially for Pearsall or re-aggravation of an injury. So we'll see. Let's go to the defense. Oh, right on cue. Maurice, we are on the same page, my friend. So we're switching gears to the defense right now. I don't think we will see Nick Bosa or Leonard Floyd. I would be surprised if we saw Hargrave. We could see Malik Collins potentially, maybe. We'll see. I want to see how they manage that. But I do expect that we will see Yetur Gross-Matos, Jordan Elliott. Well, Jordan Elliott was kind of dinged up at the late, kind of towards the back end of practice as well. So that will be a guy that I want to keep an eye on if he will play or not. I think you want to see Jordan Elliott play. I think you want to see Yetur Gross-Matos kind of just showcase some of that potential he has. I'm not concerned about Yetur Gross-Matos. I feel like he's done really, really well. When I asked Nick Bosa about how Yetur was fitting in to the rotation, he talked about how he's still kind of grasping the scheme, just really trying to put an emphasis on Yetur learning the scheme. And as long as, and he said he's really starting to pick it up. He said him and Coach Surik have been on him about getting into the scheme. And we've heard that defensive linemen who have integrated into Coach Surik's wide nine scheme have had a learning curve. I never played defensive line beyond high school. So when it comes to the wide nine scheme, I understand it from a 30,000 elevation view. I don't understand it from the way that they talk about it. Like when he says he's got to learn the scheme, I'm like, man, what is he talking about? Like, I would love to understand the wide nine a little bit better. I understand the baseline concepts of the scheme, but I think we're in regards to the intricacies of gap contain and what they're trying to accomplish, things like that. It's a whole nother level to learning the wide nine. So I do, though, like I said, I think we'll see YGM. I think we'll kind of see YGM kind of moved a little bit all over the line, play a little bit of outside, play a little bit of inside, which I really like. It's one of my favorite roles for YGM. So I'm looking very much so to that situation and how that plays out. As we stay on the defensive line right now, some other young guys to keep an eye out for is Evan Anderson. Sam Okuwanu flashed a couple times at practice for me. He had one of the sickest pancakes of all training camp, he absolutely put Brandon Parker on his behind. It was a monstrous pancake. So Sam Okiwanu is a guy that I'm looking to see. Shaquille Brown potentially. Austin Bryant was put on injured reserve, so we do have that new guy as well. Oh, I forgot the one. I think his last name's Kirkland, the wide receiver that the 49ers assigned out of the UFL. He's a little shifty. He's a little shifty. I want to see this guy Kirkland out of the UFL, see if he acclimates well to the 49ers offense. Robbie Anderson, I don't think has been officially announced by the 49ers. So that's an interesting element to there's an interesting element to this situation, right? Like, I don't think Robbie Anderson has been officially announced. So because he hasn't been officially announced, I'm not sure he's going to play today. So that's a TBD on Robbie Chosen Anderson. So we'll see if we see him lined up out there. But I've seen some of you guys talking about the linebackers. Is this his full name? Because I didn't know that. I wouldn't be surprised. Demondrick Winters. Is that his full name? Let me do a quick little search on this. Yep. Demondrick Winters. All right. Demon. It's fitting that he has demon in his name because he actually looks like a demon out there sometimes. Like, I'm telling you guys, when I was at practice, when I was able to be credentialed and I was able to get really close to these guys and I was watching D Winters, I was like, he kind of looks like Dre Greenlaw. Like, if you just put switch jerseys, you might have a hard time telling D Winters and Dre Greenlaw apart. They're very physical. They're very aggressive. Okay, so we did just get an update for one of the questions that we were looking for. Multiple 49ers did not make the trip, according to JLC. No Brandon Ayuk, not a surprise there. No Christian McCaffrey, no surprise there. No Fred Warner, no surprise there. No Nick Bosa, no surprise there. But the one that we were waiting for was Ricky Pearsall. Ricky Pearsall did not travel with the team, so we will not see Ricky Pearsall play for the San Francisco 49ers in the first preseason matchup of the year. So that stinks. I was actually hoping that we would see him, but I'm also not surprised either. I think that was the outcome I was expecting. But, again, everyone's excited to see the 49ers first round draft pick out there on the field. But it does not sound like Ricky will be on. He didn't even make it on the plane, which is interesting. I don't know. I feel like preseason week 1, even if he wasn't playing, wouldn't it make sense to still just bring Ricky along and kind of get him acclimated to that kind of environment? I don't know. I find that's an interesting thing that he didn't even travel with the team. So let me make a quick post. 49ers first round rookie wide receiver Ricky Pearsall did not travel with the team, according to Jennifer Lee Chan. Jen Iffer. Hold on. So what do you guys think about Ricky Pearsall not traveling with the 49ers? I feel bad for the guy. It's start of his career. He's been banged up quite a bit. No Fred Warner, no Nick Bosa. I did see Kittle traveled. I saw Kittle and so Diamador Lenore posted a video to his Instagram that and he was with from what I could see Kittle and Juszczyk taking a tour of Kittle's property. So I think Lenore broke through. He's entered top level leadership status. So that's cool. It's cool to see Lenore with the in crowd. So no Pearsall. Almost done making my post. Hold on a sec. Post made. Post made. All right, let's get back on track. I think we were talking about D Winters, right? So before this news dropped of no Ricky Pearsall being out, none of the other guys are much of a surprise at all. But unfortunately, no Pearsall today. So it does appear Cowing traveled. Now, that doesn't mean he's going to play. It just means he traveled with the team. I assume if he travels with the team, that's a good scenario. So we'll most likely see Cowing out there as well. The only BA news that we got is he did not travel with the team to the Titans. But I don't even think that's news. I don't even think that's news because I don't think it was expected that Brandon Ayuk was going to travel with the team. So, not surprised by that. So let's talk about we're almost through to the defense. So let's talk about some of the defenders we'll be watching today. So obviously Fred Warner didn't travel. We could see Devondre Campbell. It'll be interesting, but I think the guys that we are looking for from a defensive linebacker position is D Winters and Jalen Graham. I think those are the two names that I know I'll be locked on in regards to watching them play and being able to see what those guys do out there on the field. I was talking about D Winters, what he reminds me of in training camp today or this year. D Winters was giving me Dre Greenlaw vibes. Now, obviously, not to the same level of Dre Greenlaw, but D Winters plays very similarly in the sense of you can see his intensity, you can see the aggressiveness. He has the same mindset of all these linebackers. Like one of the thing that's hilarious about Fred Warner in camp is like I remember one play he gives a nice little pop to JP Mason, stops Mason for almost no gain, and Fred Warner just turns to the entire offense. So you know how you have your offensive huddle and then you have the whole line of the rest of the offensive players behind them. He just turned to all of them and just flexed at them. And then, that's typical Fred, right? And so D Winters makes a similar play and he just flexes at whoever he just smacked. I'm like, yeah, he fits in. He fits in really well. So D Winters is definitely trending towards being one of your starting linebackers. So that's a guy who was one of the biggest risers of training camp. That's a guy that you want to lock in on during preseason. But Jalen Graham, a young prospect as well, who was a 7th round draft pick last. He's another guy you want to look at. So Tatum Bethune will probably be able to get eyes on for the first time, so it'll be interesting to see him. But as we kind of move down into the defensive back room, I don't imagine we'll see Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore. I don't even know if we're going to see Isaac Yadam. So with Yadam, he's actually played pretty well throughout training camp, but he was hurt the last couple days of training camp and didn't participate. So I'm not really sure that he will play. So that means there's a very good chance that Renardo Green will be your starting cornerback today. And I like that. I want to see Renardo Green get as many reps as possible. And if he's running out there with the starters and he gets some opportunities to go up against some of the starting wide receivers, like let's say Calvin Ridley's out there, I'm really excited to see what the Titans do. I would love it if the Titans put out their starters. Like I would love to see Calvin Ridley versus Renardo Green. I mean, talk about getting quality reps under your belt as a young rookie. So, and by all accounts, Renardo Green's been playing pretty well. Now, it'll be very interesting to see if the 49ers opt to sign a cornerback in free agency. I think something to keep an eye out on. I know we did hear that I think it was Stephon Gilmore visited a team today. So it could be a cornerback of that caliber. I think they want to probably see what's going to happen in this preseason game. So that will be something to watch for, is watch these cornerbacks. Will Darrell Luter Jr. play? I mean, Darrell Luter was a guy that I was really hoping to see, and he didn't really pop all that much in training camp. And he got hurt at the end as well. So I don't even know if he's going to participate, but I would like to see what he could do. I would imagine we'll see a ton of Ambry Thomas and Samuel Womack and Chase Lucas. Ambry Thomas, I don't think he has the opportunity to lock down like the last spot, in this room. But there's nothing that Ambry Thomas did. Ambry Thomas had a couple nice plays. I'm not going to sell him short of that. but I think we just know what Ambry is. I just think Ambry is a fringe roster guy at best, which is unfortunate considering he is a former third round draft pick. But he so far up until this point, he hasn't proven anything other than being just that. So we'll have to see if Ambry Thomas comes out and has a big preseason. I think he's fighting for a roster spot as well. So that will be something to keep an eye on. When we get to the safety position, obviously we're not going to see Talanoa Hufanga. I don't think we'll see Jair Brown. So there's a good chance the starting safeties heading into this game could be George Odom and Malik Mustafa. So obviously everyone heard the early hype of Malik Mustafa throughout the non-padded training camp practices. Now, when the pads came on, he quieted down considerably, but um, doesn't mean he played bad or anything. He just you weren't hearing the same levels of hype or seeing that same thing from Malik. So this will be a good opportunity for him to get a lot of run. I would imagine we're going to see a lot of Taylor Hawkins. Jalen Mahoney is an undrafted free agent safety that I think has looked well in training camp. So I'm really excited to see what Jalen Mahoney can do in some live game reps. So keep an ear out for that name. Undrafted free agent Jalen Mahoney out of Vandy, I believe it was. He was like a 3-year starter there. He was a captain. He has a lot of playing experience under his belt in college. And I think he could be one of those sneaky undrafted free agent guys that eventually earns himself onto the roster. Probably won't be this year, but maybe sometime down the line while chilling out on the practice squad, he could be one of those guys. He definitely feels like he'll be one of those long-term practice squad guys, at least in the short term. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So lot to look for from Malik Mustafa and all of those other guys. And again, I don't know who the Tennessee Titans are going to put out there, So whatever they put out there, we'll be ready to go. I do think Tracy, their newest signed safety, will get a lot of run, especially if Jair Brown doesn't go. So he could absolutely go. I don't believe you should play Brown. He might be able to get a series or two, but I think Jair has played so well in training camp that there would be no reason to. Um, but we will have to see if he does or not. But yeah, big game for the guys who are fighting for a roster spot. Don't expect to see a ton of starters today. And we'll definitely be looking for the back end guys, see who stands out, see who shows up. I don't even think we'll see a lot of Jordan Mason. I see Tom say JP Mason game. I wouldn't be surprised if they said, you know what, Jordan, take a seat. We signed like 3 running backs off the streets, so you don't got to go play. So I actually wouldn't even I wouldn't even expect that we even see that. So could definitely be something. Could definitely be something. 100%. We're looking at depth today. This is a depth game. Let these guys get reps, let these guys get tape. But the fun thing about this is we'll have our first film breakdown of the year, right? Should theoretically. Um first film breakdown. We'll be able to break down a lot of these younger guys, see who we think played well when we get back into the tape. So that should be back into our normal weekly content routine. So those are always fun. I always enjoy doing the film breakdowns. So we'll have a lot to look at. And again, we have actual football to talk about. So we'll be able to talk about football. I know a lot of people are so tired of the Brandon Ayuk situation, but that's honestly all that's going. It's the number one story in the NFL right now. It's an ongoing daily situation. So this will be our first opportunity to really be able to all watch football together and then all be able to talk about it and discuss who's rising, who's falling, who's playing well, who could be playing better, and all those different types of things. So in regards to post game content, I will actually be doing what's really cool is I'll be doing a post game stream on Bleacher Report, but we actually will be doing a dual stream. So even though I'll be running it through Bleacher Report, I'll be able to stream to YouTube. If you guys watch on Facebook, because we know I got a lot of people who check in and watch via Facebook, I don't know if I will be able to stream the post game reaction to Facebook. So if you are a Facebook, you watch via Facebook, this might be the opportunity to come over to YouTube, subscribe to YouTube, because I'm not sure I can stream to both YouTube and Facebook through Bleacher Report's streaming service. So just a heads up, if you don't see the post game stream on Facebook, that is why. But I should be going live right after the game ends so we can react to everything that we've seen, and we can go from there. No, I will not be streaming the game. YouTube would literally turn my channel to dust if I attempted to stream a football game. So that will not be happening. But I do know there's other people who do like actual streams throughout the whole live. I'm not at that point yet, just because I do so many other things with social as well. Just it's not a very good viewing experience for you guys to be watching me post on social media for an entire game. So that might be something that we work through later on in the season. But right now, I won't be. Interesting. Watch every game on Facebook. 49er fans for life, I believe, is the page he is talking about. There are definitely ways to be able to watch this game if you are out of state and it's not on your local broadcast. So there are definitely ways to watch the game for sure. I'm not watching that. I might have to flip that on right now. But again, I'll be going live. We'll be doing a live game reaction, post game reaction when the game is over. And we got, just like Michael's saying, we got 49ers football back. So we'll have some actual football to react to, not just reports in the media. So let's keep our focus today on the football. We'll have plenty of time for Brandon Ayuk updates as they come, but we get players on the field today and absolutely love it. So appreciate you guys. I saw you talking about this a couple times. Kalia Davis, I imagine he'll get a lot of playing time today. He needs a lot of playing time today, for sure. I can't wait to fall in love with the four stringer who won't make the team. I've already fallen in love with Cody Schrader. Let's see, who else have I fallen in love with who's probably not going to make the team. I haven't fallen in love with Jalen Mahoney. I just really like Jalen Mahoney, but I will say I'm loving Cody Schrader right now. So it's a big preseason for him. Big preseason for him. Mason Pline, solid as well. So Do me a favor if you can. If you are able, just hover that mouse over or your finger or whatever it is, smash that like button, throw on the noti bell so that you are alerted when we go live, and we will go live right after right after the game is over and all that stuff. So appreciate everyone as always for tapping in on the lives. Hopefully you enjoyed our non Brandon Ayuk conversation, and we got football today. So a lot of stuff to react to once the game is over. Make sure you're here on the channel, and we will get into it all. Appreciate you guys. I'm out of here for now. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.